ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us for the news in Africa and the world. We open today's edition in Ivory Coast. Protests against Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara's decision to seek a third term left at least 5 people dead and scores injured. Small groups blocked roads in protest while police in riot gear later cleared the burning barricades in several parts of the commercial capital, Abidjan. There have been sporadic protests in the West African nations since last week, when Ouattara went back on an earlier pledge and said he will run in the October 31 election. Ivory Coast law limits presidential terms to 2, but Ouattara says that a new constitution adopted in 2016 acted as a reset button, allowing him to run again. Critics say this violates the constitution and would destabilize a country still recovering from a civil war. Authorities said it had not authorized the demonstrations planned for the following day and would take actions to stop the protesters from blocking traffic. Namibia has announced that it will suspend domestic flights for 18 days that started from Wednesday amid an increase in COVID-19 cases. The suspension of regional flights will be extended until September 20 and Frankfurt flights until September 30 in line with the reopening of international borders. Air Namibia Corporate Communications Officer Twaku Keyofa said the airline has introduced flexible rebooking options for travelers who need to change their travel dates. He added for all domestic flights, all ticket purchase on or before Wednesday will be offered one free change to a new travel date until October 31. To date, Namibia has recorded over 3,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 22 deaths. Seven African countries, including Cameroon, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Morocco, are to begin administering coronavirus antibody tests, making them the first in Africa. According to Addis Ababa-based Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the testings will begin next week as part of an effort to understand how widespread the infection is on the continent. The head of Africa CDC, Dr. John Kengasong, said in the weekly briefing that Africa had conducted 9.4 million coronavirus tests so far, reaching the 10 million target that had been set in collaboration with member states. He described this as good progress for vaccine development in Africa. The importance of the antibodies test is reiterated, seeing that Western governments are using antibody tests to trace how many of their citizens have been infected, so it could also help show whether people currently have COVID-19. The continent has so far recorded more than 1 million coronavirus cases. However, experts believe that low levels of testing in many countries indicates that Africa's infection rates are likely to be higher than reported. In a bid to curb further infection rates, 25 African countries still have full border closure, while 23 are imposing testing at entry point. The Africa CDC has as well stressed the need to harmonize border testing and recognition of certificates in order to facilitate travel across the continent. Out of Africa, Israel and the United Arab Emirates have reached a deal to normalize relations with Israel, agreeing to suspend its controversial plan to annex parts of the occupied West Bank. The announcement makes the UAE the first Gulf Arab state to do so and only the third Arab nation to have active diplomatic ties to Israel. In a surprise statement by US President Donald Trump, who helped broker it, they are called historic and a breakthrough towards peace. Until now, Israel has had no diplomatic relation with Gulf Arab countries. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has sought to build settlements on land desired by the Palestinians and embraced a Trump proposal that will allow him to annex large parts of the occupied West Bank while granting Palestinians limited autonomy in other areas. Netanyahu said it was a historic day and launched that a new era for the Arab world and Israel. Back to Lebanon. Lebanon's parliament has approved a state of emergency in Beirut in its first session since the August 4 explosion, granting the military sweeping powers amid rising popular anger at official corruption and mismanagement and political uncertainty. The government of Prime Minister Hassan Diab resigned en masse on Monday, less than a week after the blast that killed more than 170 people, injured at least 6,000, wrecked Beirut port, and caused widespread damage across the capital. Before it resigned, the government declared a state of emergency that gave the military the power to declare curfews, prevent public gatherings, and censor the media, as well as refer civilians to military tribunals for alleged security breaches. The action required approval of lawmakers, by which they granted on Thursday. Thanks for watching, and do so again if you can. Until we meet, do take care and stay safe.